Welcome everyone to the November meeting of the Mathewson-Plank virtual get-together. Tonight we have Joe McGregor with us, who is going to talk about baseball simulating. Joe, I got to admit, it's something that I am not well versed in. I've tried to do a little homework the last few days, and it's kind of intriguing. So I'm kind of looking forward to what you have to offer us tonight and explain how this works. I know I have a bunch of questions, so Joe, why don't you take it over and get us started?
Thank you. And I just before I get started, I want to say this is really an honor and thank you for having me aboard. So think back, everybody, and those of you that are going to be catching this later, wherever it's going to be posted. All right, as a child, right, and you were opening up that the pack of baseball cards. All right, and of course you had to chew the awful gum. We thought it was the best thing in the world, right? So we would look at the picture of the player in the front, but almost immediately, what did we do? We turned over that card to look at the stats. And at least for me, looking at those stats, that was the real magic of it all. And all those numbers. And I remember just as a little kid, just being enchanted by those numbers. And never did I think that you had to play at those numbers in your mind. And of course, many of us would try to, create little baseball games, if you will, out of these cards. So, and as a kid, I didn't know about the cards and dice games, like, Stratomatic Baseball, APBA, Sharco, the other ones, they're legion. And in fact, I'm one of the rare people, maybe it's because of my age, that I didn't start with cards and dice baseball. I started with digital baseball gaming. And I'm only now getting sort of, and when I was an undergraduate, I did play some cards and dice. As a graduate student, I had no time. Anybody's gone to grad school, you know what I'm talking about. Say goodbye to your life. But I thought that it would be interesting to, when Scott had reached out to me about doing this, and he said, if there's any way we can get people to engage. And I thought, well, as an educator, and I have a master's in education, turned down a doctorate to return to Europe. And right now I'm keeping my accent down, but it is actually, actually it's Northern Ireland. So maybe at the end of the meeting, I'll go full Irish on you. We'll see. But I thought, people learn at different rates in different ways. And in any adjunct we have to learning is an amazing thing. Well, and then, thinking back, it's like how enchanted I was with the statistics. How can we vicariously watch these players again? And I should make a quick correction on the because I wasn't clear. My area of focus, I love all of baseball, but my area of focus is actually the dead ball era and then 19th century as well. Nothing wrong with 1950s baseball and forward, but I'm absolutely enamored of dead ball. Anyhow, none of us here have seen, we didn't see Hannes Wagner, we didn't see Ty Cobb, Napoleon Lajoie, Shoeless Joe Jackson, who should be in the Hall of Fame. So, but what I'm going to show you tonight, I'm not going to show you every baseball sim I have. We would be here for hours and hours. But I want to show you a way that not only can you bring these players alive, but also to create your own baseball history while still learning more about baseball history. So we have a couple communities on YouTube. It's a sports gaming community, and we run different types of sort of fantasy leagues, if you will. So the one that I run, and we're coming up on its third iteration, is called the Ned McGreevy League. So those of you who know about Ned McGreevy will get what that's all about. Basically, it's people are drafting players from 1893 to 1919, putting together the best team they can. The other one is called Fields of Dreams that I used to be a member of, but just don't have the time. That has a different drafting structure and it covers pretty much baseball history from, again, we use 1893 as kind of like the, right, I think most historians agree that that's the beginning of quote unquote modern baseball up until I think we do it to about 2009. What we found through that, my friends, is that we were learning about players that normally we just wouldn't have known. Now, SABR gurus, if I mention Howie Shanks, most people would say, well, yeah, I know about Howie Shanks, but a lot of us didn't know about Howie Shanks. I'm a student of the game. I really didn't know too much about him. And as we dug deeper, we found that, and many of us are SABR members, so of course, reading the great SABR, publications and things like that, and the amazing SABR website, which I've actually done a video on SABR's website and resources. So anybody listening to this, if you're not a member, why aren't you? Um, I think this is a great way as a sort of an adjunct to SABR, to other resources you might have. If you're like me, of course, you're using Baseball Reference, you're using Baseball Almanac, all these, but I also love the big hernia-inducing books. So I still have Total Baseball and Bert Sullivan's excellent baseball timeline and all of those. So now enough of the preamble. We're going to start easy here and show you a really fun game. For those of you who have rolled up cards and dice but are looking for something a little bit more complete that is not going to cost you an arm and a leg per season. This is a game called Pocket Pennant Run. Now, hopefully, I've just got to check with you guys because I'm not monitoring it. There should be a little screen that popped up, and you should see Pocket Pennant Run. It's superimposed over Forbes Field now. Are you seeing that?
Yep.
Okay, good. All right, so this is a game that's being developed by Matt McKeever and Craig Harris. Both they're baseball fanatics. So I'll warn you, this doesn't have jazzy graphics, but what it does, it makes up for it. It's amazing. All right. So you can see all kinds of menu choices here for $14.99. And I hasten to add, I am not a shill. I don't represent any of these companies, these games that you're going to see. So for $14.99 in this game, if you just get the PDF version, you get access to this great software called Pocket Pennant Run Manager, a rather dry title, but as you'll see, it plays a wonderful game of baseball. And here's the best part. You get all of Major League Baseball going back to the National Association, 1871, up to last season, so 2023. 2024 will be released free. You also have AAA minor leagues they're adding. You have the All-American Girls Professional Baseball League in here. You have all of the Negro leagues in this, all of this for 15 bucks. All right. So
Wow.
let me just go through this very quickly. If you have questions, I don't want to get into any strict pedagogy here. Just butt in, say, hey, slow down there, you crazy person. I have a question. All right. All right. So the best way to show you how this works is, I think for a lot of people, since we're talking about history, let's go into first the thing called box score replay. All right. So another window you should be seeing popping up in here. Okay. So you can see here, this is every team and everybody's ever played baseball. Great stuff. Major League Baseball. Okay. So let's say I just somebody throw out a year. I don't care. Go ahead. Anybody? Bueller?
1911.
1911. Kind of fun that you should say that, because in a really special program, I hope we'll have time to quickly show you. You actually get to hear Ernie Harwell call a game from 1911 using Appa's Baseball for Windows. All right, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to select the Philadelphia Athletics for obvious reasons. Okay, because they were monsters. Okay, so now from here we can load the entire season for 1911, which is what we're going to do, or we can just load just the schedule for the 1911 Philadelphia A's. But let's go ahead and load the season schedule. This doesn't take long at all. There we go. So what you have here, these are the actual, this is the actual schedule, the actual dates, the actual historical score. And each game has unique ID. So for people that like to do season replays, this is amazing. All right. So what we're going to do here is we're not going to play out a whole game of any of these, I promise you. Okay. But let's just find two teams and let's see, where are those? There they are. All right. So on April 12th, 1911, they played the New York Highlanders. It would become the Yankees in 1914, right? But they lost 2-1. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to hit here, print and play game. All right. So now what it's doing is going to the database, and all of these players are rated. All right. So there we go. This was the starting lineups and everything, and we're going to go into it. I'll explain what these letters mean in a few minutes. Okay. But let's just go ahead and do play game day. All right. So here we are. Very, very simple screen. You should be seeing a very sort of rudimentary baseball diamond. There's a new update coming out for this game, and I'm told it's going to look amazing. What's really fun about this, though, is here's where we can get into researching. Even if you just want to use this as a research tool, it's great. we can look at the actual lineups that were used on that day. So for the Highlanders, and here's the bench. Now, what's interesting, and I'm hoping, let's see if Connie Mack, nope, he didn't. So we have to pick another date. But you see this little lineup here. So any player that would be above this little dotted line on each side was actually in the game, is either a reliever or a pinch hitter, pinch runner, what have you. So you have fielding ratings, everything like that. All right. So you have pretty much this is the game and you can replay it. All right. So I'll just show you quickly how this goes, and then we're going to move on, show you a couple other features of this, and then quickly just to another baseball sim. All right. So let's go back here to the current batters. So batters are rated, and they're rated. They actually give you the statistical formula that they use to rate players. So all these ratings are based on actual stats. And so those of you that have played Strat, have played APBA, Status Pro Baseball, the cards and dice games, you're going to feel right at home with this. This is an open game engine, it's called. I'm just going to click these dice. And again, you can buy a physical version of the game and roll the dice, but I like playing it right in the desktop. So we're going to roll it. And this red die is the first thing you always go off of. We see here that it's a pitcher die, and we see that it's control. You see this little yellow thing? This tells me to go to this. And it's a 3, and our leadoff hitter, Harry Walter, swing and a miss, strike 3. So I just select the play, and it's already defaulted to strikeout. Enter it. It's 1 out. Batter up. All right, so Charlie Hemphill, again, we're just going to hit the dice. This is a 12. It's a batter. So we go to the batter part now. See, and this will tell you where to go. Batter column is an 11, and this is a single with 2 asterisks. The single just with the 2 asterisks means if there was a runner on first, he would advance to third on the single. So we would just go here, select the play, select hit, and we'll just go ahead and just do what it says, and he's on first. Now, do we want to steal with this guy? Well, let's bring the batter up. There's a couple ways you can do this. First, if I click on this guy, on Charlie Hemphill, we can see that his speed's a D, and we can tell by these dice rolls, he's pretty much going to be out, except on a roll of an 11. So I'm not gonna steal with him. You can, however, when you have a manager that's set up properly, you can say ask the manager, what does he want to do? Well, he's also saying no, so we're good. All right, so here he is, Prince Hao Chase, everybody's favorite bad guy in baseball, right? So here we go. All right, a 9 for Hao Chase, and that's a batter card 1. So he is grounding to third, and it's going to be an inning-ending double play. So how do we do that? We just go to select play. We know it's an out. All right, and then we're going to go to double play, and this goes third, second, first, already selected, enter play. And Hao Chase beat the throw to first. How about that? So that will happen. So instead of an inning-ending double play, we have a rather fleet of foot Hao Chase. Now, if you're playing this game, and again, if you know about Hao Chase, all right, you're coming in, yeah, he had some pretty good speed. But what if you didn't know that? Well, again, just by let's go ahead and bring a batter up here because it all depends on the situation. I can click on Hao Chase, and he's got a pretty good chance to steal. And stealing with 2 outs in a dead ball era was something that was common. I think these days in modern baseball, we would be kind of horrified at that, but there you go. So if we wanted to steal with Hao Chase, we would just click steal, and it's going to ask me, do I want Hao Chase to steal second against catcher Ira Thomas? He's a B. So Hao Chase let's just go for it and see what happens, and he's safe. So you start to see now that, again, even in just this very kind of utilitarian fashion, there's a very, very deep baseball game here. And we're learning players, right? So we know this guy, Chief Bender, we know him. But how many people here know about Roy Hartzell? Well, now we can learn a little bit about Roy Hartzell. We can look here, we can see just what kind of runner he is, what kind of speed he has. Of course, power is as most of you know in the dead ball era was really the triple was the big power hit. And we can go on. So, but we're going to go ahead and exit out of this game. But before I do, I want to show you a neat thing that this game does. So if I click on this score sheet, what it does is it actually, let me make this a little larger for you guys, is it actually pre-fills the lineups and everything for you. And as this game plays, everything will be filled out. And so this does proper scorekeeping all the way down, and it does the at bat variation of a scorecard, which I've grown to like. I got used to the innings, but I kind of find this cleaner. So you could also, if you're playing this game, Cards and Dice, you could have it just print this. You could just print this out on your printer and go roll the dice or whatever you want to do. All right. Now we're going to go ahead and just jump out of this game. All right. As you can see, there's a lot you can do, and we're playing just with basic rules here. All right. Now let's go ahead and close out of this. What else can you do in this game? Well, this is kind of neat. And they're expanding upon this as well. This thing called Statfs. And this is sort of having baseball reference without having baseball reference. And again, bear in mind, this is $14.99. So let's say I want to look up a player, and we were talking about great Pittsburgh Pirates. So up here, I'm just gonna click find a player, and I'm just gonna start typing. You guessed it, and there we go. Hannes Wagner's here, okay, and I can search his stats, and I have Hannes Wagner. There's his career. It's right there. So a really, really nice tool for some quick research that you don't have to go out of the game if you don't want to. You don't want to go to Baseball Reference or anything like that. Just get a quick kind of peek at Hannes Wagner. All right. But we can also do this with a team. All right. So again, I'm going to change this database. We'll go modern this time. And let's go. Do we have any Red Sox fans in here? Dead silence. That tells me. All right, let's pick the 1980 Phillies. All right, even though I guess that SABR chapter is not here either. Um, but let's just pick the Phillies. Okay. And again, we're going to just search the stats. And there we go. Now we have the 1980 Phillies in all their glory, all of that. So again, quick reference. What's also nice about this is you're creating, I'll show you something else you can do here. If you go to team management, this is where you can really start to get into kind of fantasy sort of baseball. So I will bring up a team that I'm creating or that I'm working on, a league. Let's load it. You'll see here it says the 1930 Bats Braves. Really what this is APA put out a set called, or two sets, and one is like pre-expansion, pre-1960 franchise all-time greats. So you'll see here, and I've just done the Braves so far. But you'll see, Hank Aaron is on here, but so is Rabbit Moranville, Bob Elliott, of course, who had some time with the Pirates. Yeah, there's Fred Tenney. We can look at pitchers, and pretty scary rotation that they have here. A lot you can do with this. I can assign, of course, the ballpark. I haven't done that yet. I can decide who I'd like to manage. I can set manager tendencies. So I'm hoping that you're starting to see what this kind of simulation software can do for you, because now those stats, right? When you can actually, when you're managing these players, and when you're doing strategy, so you've got Hannes Wagner at first, right? And you've got Kitty Bransfield at third. Do you want to try something as gutsy in the bottom of the eighth as a double steal? Do you want to try, a hit and run in that situation, whatever? These things allow you to do that in ways that statistics can only do so much, but to actually do it, and every one of these games, I'm only going to show a few of them. Um, they're extremely accurate. Just excellent stuff. So we're going to move on from Pocket Pennant Run now. And the next one I'll bring up here is Action PC Baseball. And the reason is because somebody mentioned about players by state, that they had this file. Well, what if I told you that there was a way in a digital baseball game where you could create leagues, right? Using, again, the entirety of baseball history of a player's state, right? State or commonwealth of birth. I think that'd be pretty cool, right? So right now you see I'm doing the 1971 season. There's the nice pictures and everything. This is done by DK Sports, this game. This does not have every season included. You do have to buy seasons, but they have great deals. But before I show you that state file, let me show you what this does as far as stats. So let's look at Sal Bando. All right. There we go. If I double click on Sal Bando, I can see his real 1971 stats all the way here, and also what he's doing in this little replay for right now. I can look at actual fielding stats, what he'll be doing versus a team throughout the entire season, game logs. I can go to manager here and I can actually set managing tendencies for Sal Bando, how I want to use them. So if I, decide that I want to just do this differently, I can. And you can see how how deep this goes. It's really, really nice stuff. Player usage, really, really important, and all of that. So this is for everybody that you can do this. And of course, if I click right here on Bando on the web, this will automatically link to Baseball Reference. So again, we're making that connection between a game, which by the way, I'm not going to show any baseball Twitch games like MLB The Show or Super Mega Baseball. These are hardcore baseball stats over here. You will see ratings. These are nice. These are created for us based on the stats, but so that we can see that here, Sal Bando had better power versus lefties as opposed to righties. How was he as far as bunting for a hit, for sack bunting, all of this stuff here? Was he much of a base stealer? We can see that he's rated a 1. So you're probably not going to do a lot of stealing with Sal Bando. And if we look over here in 1971, Sal Bando stole 3 bases successfully, but he was caught 7 times. So all of this stuff makes sense. What kind of hitter was he? He was a fly and spray hitter. If we were looking at somebody else like Willie Stargell, again, these numbers are going to look very, very differently. And I think for me, again, this is just another wonderful way to get to know these players. This game, and I don't think this sound shares, unfortunately, this game has audio, and just very quickly, I'll show you just what it looks like. So we'll go ahead and just at least start a game so you can see what it looks like. And Pirates, by the way, beat the Phillies 5-4, and it's on our home opener. Doc Ellis with the win. All right, yeah, Yankees, Red Sox. I mean, there we go. So we're going to manage the Red Sox. We're going to click play. And there you go. Now you see there's a nice image of Fenway. You can put your own ballparks into this. These are just JPEG files. All right. You can set this to 3/4 screen or full screen. So right now it'll be 3/4, as you'll see. You can do all kinds of things here: video and sound, play-by-play, what have you. Okay. So the computer AI is going to be managing the Yankees, and I'll be managing the Red Sox. Let's play. And so there's everybody that played for the Red Sox in 1971, 85 and 77. Not too bad. We're just going to go ahead and pick computer lineup. So the computer manager actually has done this for me. So what's important to note also about this game is if you do buy seasons from DK Sports, they do have as played lineups and transactions and everything. So if I were doing a strict replay, Luis Aparicio would have led off that day. All right, so let's go ahead and go into the game, and let's just, okay, I don't know if you guys can hear the game's audio or not. You also can see here that these guys are all over the place, so I would have to sort of rearrange them. There's not time enough in this meeting to do that, but normally if I just didn't have the American League set up yet, these guys would be at their proper position. And this game is actually animated, so you'll see the ball go, all kinds of good stuff. So there's a lot more going on in terms of sort of eye candy in this game. I love the fact that player pictures are right here, everything like that. All right, so we're going to go ahead and jump out of this game, and it will let me restart it at any time. Okay. Now, I do want to show you quickly just this some of the databases that are pretty amazing here. So again, guys, if you have any questions, please ask. I do want to try to keep this within the allotted time. So we're going to look in our seasons folder here, and yes, it's pretty ridiculous here, the stuff
So
that
what
is
would be most beneficial? What is the most beneficial thing for this?
for these games, you mean?
Yeah,
So again, I think it's a way for you to a number of things. Great way to learn about players, great way to learn about teams. In fact, I have a set in here that was created by somebody in our community, which is kind of a history of every baseball's franchise using all-time great players from their franchises. So I think it's also discovering players, but doing it in a way that's and again, my master's is in education. I love reading. I'm one of those people that reads 5, 6 books at a time. Um, but for some people, who are more visual learners, that we want to get them to really get into the richness of this greatest of all sports. I think this is a wonderful way to do that. I think for those of us who are baseball fanatics, I think this is also great because, again, we can't go back to 1911 and watch Connie Mack's $100,000 infield, but we can learn about them and watch them as they progress through a season replay. If we have them set up in a tournament, things like that. It's a great way to kind of, even though you're moving your mouse, you're clicking a button, but you're making decisions. And I think it's a way to connect you with your favorite teams, your favorite players, what if scenarios. Well, what if that Francisco Cabrera guy, and there, Karen, I know I'm bringing up a sore spot for we Pirate fans. You remember that, right? Francisco Cabrera. Well,
I can forget.
yeah, on my channel, I've replayed that game, and we won, by the way, and I let the computer manage both teams, so we did beat the Braves. But anyhow, I want to show you this really quickly, guys, before we move on, because this is really, really neat. You were talking about, somebody here was talking about earlier, that somebody had this database of all these players, right? For like the states they were born in. So. Oh my goodness, where did they go? Where did they go? Ah, there we go. All right. Baseball history collection. So it's this United States USA zip. So this is every player in just in the United States. And if I were to load this, and I just remembered it would take a couple minutes to load, this would be actually, you would be able to see, you could draft players through this program, create your own alternate baseball history, by having these players. So now there's a use for that, instead of having a room full of index cards, and nothing wrong with that, by the way. But you get a complete statistical picture of these players. And again, you can see here there are other sets here. Maybe you want to just do something with Japanese baseball. Ireland, of course, is going to be mostly 19th century players. Other things you can do in this game. What if you wanted to create, you want to do some baseball, and I don't know, everybody has their kind of favorite era. So 1970s, I think, is another great decade for baseball. It had power, speed, great pitching. You could put together a league just comprised of players who made their debut in the 1970s. So you have a lot of freedom to do what you want. And of course, then these are all the seasons. And I don't want to tell you how much I've invested in this game, but it's a lot. It's a lot. But you know what? At the end of the day, it's really enriched, my study of the game. Being a student of the game, I would never ever claim to be an expert. Just one real quick thing here. We'll do with the state collection. We'll go ahead and install it. We're going to just overwrite it. And just give it a moment here, and it is there, and you're going to see the screen change. And what this is again really fun. So this is not every state, because not every state has somebody or enough players to create a baseball team. So here we are in the great Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Let's look at Pennsylvania's roster. Pretty good stuff here. Ken Griffey, Hack Wilson, Mike Piazza, Dick Allen, Reggie Jackson, Jack Clark, Dale Ennis, Stan the Man Musial from Denora, PA. Thank you very much. It was a heck of a harmonica player too, right? There's Roy Campanella, Ripper Collins from Altoona, Pennsylvania, who was the home run champ in 1934, was the Gashouse Gang Cardinals. Gene Tennis, Mickey Vernon, Hannes Wagner's Nellie Fox. So I think for some people, having, studying the, where a player was born, but now to see them, I mean, so there were some of these players, I had no idea they were from Pennsylvania. Not at all. Look at our pictures here. We're pretty tough. And here's our guys, Christy Mathewson and Eddie Plank, right? Gettysburg Eddie and Big Six. There they are. I had no idea that Ed Walsh was born in Pennsylvania. I did not know that. Stan Kovaleski, Bucky Walters. This Pennsylvania team is very, very tough. And I actually am doing a project with this, and I would just say that we're pretty tough, but we got beat by Maryland in the last game because they had the saloon keeper's son on their team. I don't know, he's some scrub some of you have heard of maybe. But they've got Lefty Grove. There he is. There he is. He's a scrub. The guy's a scrub, but we'll deal with him anyhow. But they're dangerous too. You got Babe Ruth, Jimmy Fox, Cal Ripken, Mark Teixeira, what have you. So again, it's not is it a lot of fun, but we're getting and you're just getting a sense of not only in a season replay, all right, how would I do if I'm managing these players, but what in a what if situation? And maybe the question is maybe kind of bouncing around in everybody's cerebrums right now is, well, yeah, but how does that work? Because you're doing cross-era play. Well, this gives you another level of experimentation with baseball history. Because what I can do is I can go into this game, into this particular project that I've loaded. Pardon me, I'm just getting over a cold, my friends. Is I can normalize this. So I could say, you know what? I would like to know how these all-time great players might have performed in 1908. Conversely, I want to see, how would Big Six have done in 1975, right? So I can do it forward, or even 1930, right? That great offensive year in baseball when Hack Wilson had 190 runs batted in, I believe, something like that. So you can also do park effects for each park and set each ballpark 2 years. So these are not just like kind of little silly toss-off games, but very, very serious baseball simulations. And again, what a way to learn about these players. And so we're going to move on to the next game. And this one is this is the big value for money game that I'm going to show you. This is out of the park baseball. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of this game or not. This game has it all, and it does it so beautifully. So this comes with, let's go, just to show you what this has, by the way, it's Hall of Fame Showcase. Say we want to do a new game, all right? And we can do historical games. We can do a thing called Drive for the Pennant. So what this is, just for the current season, but I was a beta tester for this version of the game, and I'm trying to convince them to make this available for all past seasons. And this comes with everything from 1871 onward, also Negro Leagues. The only thing this one doesn't have is it doesn't have the All-American Girls Professional Baseball League like the first one that I showed you. All right, so if we go to a historical game, we're not going to worry about challenge mode. We're not going to talk about that. If you guys decide you want to get bored to death having me again, maybe we can go a little deeper dive. So you have different types of play modes here as well. So we could do a random debut mode, for instance, all right, and we can pick a year, but what this will do is overwrite it, and it'll be just a thing where it's going to create a league of players, but it's going to do random debuts of those players. That doesn't mean that it's going to pull, 1914 Babe Ruth, right? It's or 1925 Jimmy Fox. You might get 1941 Jimmy Fox or something. So it's a great roll of the dice. So for those of you who are brave, this is fun. Replay mode. This is for a strict replay. And this is the only baseball simulation that I know that there's actually a function that you can track your replay and what you're doing against the actual season. This game has taken over supremacy from another one that I'm probably not going to show tonight, but is also a great one called Diamond Mine Baseball, which was used to be used by ESPN, the Elias Sports Bureau, and others to predict World Series, predict season outcomes. This one now out of the park is pretty much the one now, although again, that's not to take anything away from the other ones. They're great. So career mode, this is nice because now you can do sort of franchise play. You can do player development in this game, which I'll show you. So very, very quickly, we'll just go ahead and do 1908. Greatest, I think. So right here, we can see we can use real historical transactions and lineups. Okay. Since we didn't have affiliated minor leagues, we're not gonna use those. All right, because we'd have them in 1908. Not gonna worry about financials. All right. And we're just going to rate them on 1 year. Okay. Just to show you how easy this is. So I'm going to use scouting. I want yes, and I want 100% accurate scouting. You can pick what type of rating system you want to use. As you guys know, professional baseball uses 20 to 80 system. That never made sense to me. I should probably read SABR articles about it on why. So I usually set this to 1 to 100. Okay. And then I'm going to do no fictional pictures because I like having actual player photos there. Okay. So let's go to the next step. You guys can see how easy this is to do. This is available on Steam and also from outoftheparkdevelopments.com. This game has been around since 1999, and it was started by a lone developer in Germany. So yeah, and of course, I mentioned where I'm from. I also lived in the Netherlands, and the Netherlands has a professional baseball league. But Germany, you don't think of Germany as kind of like, this is the place where, um, you know, but there are some baseball fans here, and this guy, his name is Marcus Heinsohn, big baseball fan. All right. I'm going to just set this as manager. I don't want to be messing as a GM, but I am going to put this in commissioner mode because then I can do some neat things with it. All right. I'm not going to touch this trading mode. I don't want to be fired though. I don't want to be fired. Wouldn't that be nice if we could just click in our real lives I'm here, you can't fire me. Of course, in the university, we call that tenure. Right. Okay, so this is importing 1908. This game is also, it's a very nice eye candy game, as you'll see. The ballparks that you'll see in this game, the 30 current ballparks do come with this game, created by Out of Park Developments. But and I've got to give him a shout out. I know he's a SABR member. He's New England. His name is Mike Silva, and Mike has created the ballparks that you're going to see here using Google SketchUp, and they're beautiful. All right. So this, as you can see, this has actually brought in the proper logos for 1908. These are all exact. So of course we're going to manage the Pittsburgh Pirates in the greatest. Probably get some guff for this. I think the greatest season in baseball history. I remember I saw Hannes Wagner myself. So I've been lying about my age, guys. I'm actually 170. All right. So here we are at our home screen. And this is where things kind of get deep with this game before we can get into it. And this will be the last one I show tonight, unless you guys want to hear Ernie Harwell quickly for an inning or two. All right, so we go to the Pirates, and let's just go to our home screen, okay? And we can look at our lineups, and we can see the lineups here for 1908. But now what's really, really fun, there's Hannes Wagner, little pop out. There's Tommy Leach. There's an excellent, excellent player. Scouting very accurate, so all the usual suspects here on the 1908 Pirates, rated properly. There's, of course, Hall of Famer and player manager Fred Clark, got the job when he was 29. But let's say that let's go to Hannes Wagner here, for instance. So let's say that we want to develop Hannes. I don't know how you develop somebody as great as Hannes Wagner, but I just want to show you something that's really fun about this. First, let's go to his real life stats. Look what you have. You have baseball reference right here. Okay. And we can view basic batting stats. So this is the stuff you would have seen, like, I guess, in the old Macmillan encyclopedias, and partially, of course, Total Baseball. But you can also go into expanded, and now you get all the fun stuff here, right? All the crazy stats that you want, the sabermetrics, what have you. Okay. But let's go back to his profile and go to development. So if you're one of these players, and part of this, it just threw in a picture there that it shouldn't have. It's just a coach, so don't worry about that. So let's say that I want to try to change history a little bit. And again, I shouldn't be using one of the immortals here, but we will, just for fun. Let's say that for some reason, Hannes is just striking out too much. All right. So I want him to avoid Ks. Now, the way to do that is really, really fun because you see the way the game works. I can't move these sliders forward. You cannot make a super player in this game. So basically what I'm going to do is say, all right, since I want him to avoid strikeouts, I need to sacrifice something else. Well, we already know pretty good defense. So I'm going to knock this down a little bit. You can see this little slider coming up here. So now this is sort of like for any of you that ever played RPGs, this is a way to kind of increase stats or whatever. So now I'm going to increase the Flying Dutchman's power just by moving this slider up. So what will happen is he's going to put in some extra time with the batting coach and off season if I'm playing in career mode. And I just wanted to say follow the Pittsburgh Pirates through the first decade of the 20th century. We'll see Wagner working on these things, but his defense might fall off a little bit. So that's kind of fun. All right. The other thing I just want to show you quickly before we jump into, just so you can see an inning in the game and really how pretty this game is. So I do want to show you, the ballparks. So let's go back to the team home screen for the Pirates. Let's go to settings, and we're going to go to edit ballpark. And this was just amazing what Mike did. So let's go to the 3D model for this ballpark. And we're waiting. Okay, and there we go. And look, isn't that nice? Can move that all around. I don't know if that's going very smooth or not for you guys. We can zoom in on the field. You can see there's nice advertising out there and everything. So here we are. Yeah. Now we're going to go ahead and jump in and let it just play a game. We can set camera angles, all kinds of stuff, weather, ball locations. You don't have to worry about any of that stuff. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and go to scores, and we're going to let this play a game. Oh, we don't have any games on the due date or on the selected date. So we're going to go to opening day. So what this is going to do is this is going to play out and simulate what we would think of as spring training. So obviously pre-branch Ricky here, but so let's let it do this. You guys have any questions thus far? I know I'm going really quickly because we only have a few minutes left. So if you have any questions, again, and that was a great question, Karen, that you had earlier, about how this all works into baseball research. I think the main takeaway for me is, let's play this game at St. Louis. It's a way again for us to kind of experience those statistics and those wonderful things we read, in the SABR Research Journal, the things that we've read elsewhere. I just finished a wonderful book called Tales from the Dead Ball Era. And it was so much fun to jump back into these games after reading about some of the antics, and the dead ball era, the Wild West of baseball, I always like to think of it, and to play out these games. All right, so we have the lineups ready to go. So the Pirates are going to be playing the St. Louis Cardinals, and we're going to start the game. And you guys will get to see a very, very big difference. So you should be hearing some audio. You should hear a crowd, and it'll cut out here for a second. And then we will be back on. There we go. So not bad looking. And what's really cool about this game is these parks are all geo-referenced. So we could actually, when we were looking at the ballpark, we could actually find its exact location in Google Earth, but more importantly, the distances in here, because this is geo-referenced, these distances matter too. Now we can choose to manage one club, both clubs, or neither. So I'm just going to go ahead, and we got Danny Muller up to bat, and we're just going to hit continue so you guys can just see a little bit of how this thing works. And it does a nice opening pan of the ballpark. And you can change all kinds of camera angles. There's a pitch, nice hard grounder to third. And up with it is Charles, and the hard thrower first, and there goes Muller. So you get a nice little play-by-play up there. There's Tommy Leach. There's the wind in the pitch. And he's going to dump this one to the left, base hit. This game is really, really, what's really another cool thing about out of the park baseball is it plays dead ball perfectly right out of the box, it's kind of an ironic thing because most people don't play games in this era. And one of its strengths is one of those things that most people are just not going to realize it can do. Now, if I want to at any time during this game, I can just mouse over, and you can see I get a little pop-up window that gives me some basics about the player. But what if I wanted to find out a little bit more about Red Murray, center fielder for these Cardinals? There we go. I just click, and I've got some stats for him. I can go to his real life stats and I can see his entire career. And again, I can view here his basic or expanded batting stats, which is really fun. So I can look at his real life fielding all the way down throughout his entire career. I don't think he did any pitching. No, he didn't. So again, fun stuff. It will generate as you go along his a page for him, but you can see right now just again actual stats. But as it goes along, it's going to track what he did at each and every player. And here for each at bat versus each pitcher in every situation. So you could look in this thing and say, okay, how did Red Murray do with a 2-out situation in the bottom of the 8th inning in a 3-1 score? It gets that deep. But don't let that scare you. This game probably is the scariest one I've shown because you're thinking, oh my goodness, to play this, I have to know. You don't. You saw how easy it was to just create a season and play. So I don't know if the computer is going to try to do something here with Tommy Leach with 1 down. Let's just go ahead and let Fred Clark hit. Johnny Lush brings it, and there goes Tommy Leach, and the throw down to second, not going to be in time. So a lot happening here. We can change camera angles, things like that, so we can make it look like. In fact, we could make this look like an old 1970s sort of thing if we wanted. So we could let's see, use a screen filter here. And how about maybe we could do, it's not going to do it for me this time, but you can change this to like black and white, things like this. I can move in closer to these fielders if I want. And they are also wearing, even though the only thing I didn't set was the high socks, stirrups and all that. But if we would zoom in, the uniforms, their logos are even correct for each year. So this is Out of the Park Baseball. This is available on Steam. It's normally $49.99. It goes on sale quite a bit. And in fact, there's one time a year you can catch this, believe it or not, for the entirety of baseball history for like $5.99. It's a great game. Plays a wonderful game of baseball. You can replay any World Series if you want in this thing. We're going to go ahead and exit out of here. So we're just going to save game. We can simulate it, but we're just going to save game and leave. All right. And let's go back to our opening screen so you guys can see a couple other things. And I guess wrap it up if there's not any questions or anything like that. I hope this was helpful. I know that maybe for some, this was a bit of a jump from what we would normally think of doing in Society for American Baseball Research, again, but a way to bring this alive, another way I think to introduce people into baseball, and whether that's cards and dice baseball or digital. This is kind of my digital's my thing because I can do more with it. So just very quickly, let's say that I wanted to do a historical exhibition. Well, this is where I can replay any World Series in history. I can play any 2 teams against each other, or I can create a tournament of up to, I think, 70 teams throughout baseball. So if we wanted to pick a World Series, let's just go ahead and, boy, we've been so pirate focused. Is there another team people like here? They've been doing this for Karen and me. It's like, well, okay, you pirate fans, this is what you're like. Let's do 1949. That was a pretty good World Series. Okay. And so of course Brooklyn and New York, and we get a nice recap of the 1949 series. We can just go ahead, the parks, logos, everything is assigned. We can just create this exhibition. We can also if we wanted to, we could set this to default modern era if we want to. The more teams we would add into a tournament is when we can start normalizing in this part of the game, which is separate from the part that I showed you, season replays. We can see some milestones and moments from 1949. So if I'm too lazy to get up and go over and get Bert Solomon's massive tome, which, by the way, if you guys don't mind, really quickly, I don't know if how many folks know this, but eBay is your best friend if you want to find some of these great old big baseball books that aren't published anymore. So it was a pristine copy of Bert Solomon's Baseball Timeline, just to use an example. I forget how many pages the book is. I'm looking at it. It's massive. $6. So if you're looking for some of these baseball books, again, go on eBay and you will find them. I found the biographical encyclopedia of baseball. So when I moved here from Europe, I left a lot of my baseball library behind, and I kind of had to rebuy a lot of stuff. And that's what I've been doing since I've been back in the United States since 2019. So we create this exhibition. And we get a nice little quote here from Carl Yastrzemski. It would just give you little random quotes, little trivia questions, things like that. So there we go. This is ready now to play. We can just kind of look at everybody's, look at everybody's lineups, their ratings before we go into this, and we play ball, and we are ready to go. So this first game, we got Don Newcomb, Vic Rashi, and we can play it. We can simulate it. So we could do this. We could do this whole World Series here in just a minute or two if we wanted to simulate the whole thing. Again, we can click on players, and right now there aren't any pictures assigned, but that's not a big deal. We're not going to worry about finishing that or fixing that. But I hope this gave you a sort of sense of the richness of what you can do in a baseball simulation. We're going to go ahead and get back to the Idle Park main screen. And this is all saved, what I've done. So if I wanted to continue that, I can. If you want to visit the Hall of Fame, there's a really neat little thing here that does a Hall of Fame showcase.
Sure, go ahead. We're good on time.
We good? All right, let me just show you this. It's so in conjunction with the National Baseball Hall of Fame and Museum, this is something new that they've done. So these are all their actual plaques. So we can look at artifacts. So let's look at well, I guess we should probably what I'm hoping that they would do, I don't think they have it yet, is a search. But we can just go through here and scroll up, scroll down. And I wanted to get one of our guys here. So let's just get to, let's see, where's Mr. Mathewson? Where's Mr. Mathewson, Big Six? Huh? So I'm going to pop this over here a little bit. And, well, tell you what, I don't want to, let's just, yeah, there we go. We'll just pick somebody at random. So this is Willie McCovey's actual Hall of Fame plaque, which is kind of neat. They're still developing this. We can go over here. We can look at artifacts that are in the National Baseball Hall of Fame. Again, there's a lot of these. There's Al Kaline's bat. There's Gary Carter's bat, Griffey. There's a ball from Bob Gibson. Pretty cool, kind of faded out. Bob Gibson would probably beam me for just calling it merely just pretty cool. So there's that. Let's go back to our main screen really, really quickly. And I'll show you one other thing that this really, really, really fun. So I created this thing called the Myths League. And let's load that in and I'll show you. And then we'll jump out of this. And I'll let you hear Ernie Harwell. I think he'll be a great ending for all of us to remember listening to baseball in one way or another. I know as a little kid, hiding under the blankets and you're listening to baseball and stuff. And of course, it was great because KMOX had such a strong signal, right? All right, so if we go here, and this is something that I have going on. This is an all-time greats league, and a lot of fun. If we go to league history, and actually let's go to league news instead. Let's go to league news and the league newspaper. You can see here that this is, it writes, so there's AI built into the program for writing things. So this talking about a game in Miami here, that there's a wayward cat on the field. And it's just a wonderful thing that it does. But you can also, right, as you're going along and as this season will progress, you can go through and it tracks the entire season in a sort of newspaper type style that you can go and just look at anything you want. So we see here that Deacon Philippe of the Pirates shut out the all-time great Cincinnati Reds 6-0. We can hit read more. We can view box score. What's also nice about this game is if you set it up properly, you can also watch highlights. So like ESPN sports highlights sort of thing, baseball highlights, or you can watch the complete game. So if you're doing a season replay, for instance, or what have you, and you saw somebody had a perfect game, or there was an unassisted triple play or something like that, you could zoom right to that and look at that play. You could look at the entire, you could watch the entire game or just pick up highlights, which is really cool. So if I click this, we could just watch the highlights of this game between the Pirates and the Reds if we wanted to. Okay. or this one, you know, Speaker went 5 for 5. And who were they playing? The Seattle Mariners. Okay. So really, really fun stuff. And again, a very, very, very deep baseball simulation. The other thing you can go do is league history. If we go to history index, this should please everybody because this is an all-time greats league. This is everything. This was made in 2023. So this is baseball up to 2023. There's everybody. So we can just pick, let's go to 1929. It's a season I love to mess around with. We can look at the 1929 Philadelphia A's. Let's call them the Oakland A's because this is, again, an all-time greats league. I just didn't change it. But we can look here at this history. So it's even going to be taking into account, you know, the Kansas City Athletics. Up here, I can search just by teams. If I want to look at the Cubbies, there's the Cubbies, all the win-loss records, everything. I can look at them by year too. So this is really having baseball reference now. So what about the great 1906 Chicago Cubs? So I just click on the year, and there we go. There's everybody. Everything they did, breaks it down into positional stats, team batting leaders, team pitching leaders. And then again, I can go into any one of these players. The other thing that's really cool about this is milestones. So if you were playing, say, a 1941 replay, so milestones will show you where players are, and it's there. So baseball, when you're in that replay, doesn't exist after 1941. So you can see at that point, for instance, how many home runs has Jimmy Foxx hit by the end of the 1941 season. So I don't think milestones is going to work. Yeah, it will sort of work here. Actually does. So we can see here that Zach Wheat, milestone of 2,500 hits. He is 31 hits away. So hopefully that'll happen this season for one of the great forgotten by the casual baseball fan, Dodger players, baseball players. So fun stuff. You have a Legends Gallery. This is cool because it creates its own Hall of Fame, which is, I think, really nice. So everybody that's in this league has a plaque. And I don't know, you guys would know better where so I got to do a shout out for a forgotten Hall of Famer who is a great Elmer Flick. So whatever SABR chapter that is, give you guys some love. This is a great, great player. So there's a lot of fun things you can do here. You can look at the actual voting history of the National Baseball Hall of Fame. It's all in here. This is just, and so I hope that you guys will see how really amazing the resources that these games offer. Just in terms of research, it's in here. It's in here. Yes, you know, you can be on Baseball Reference. You can be on the SABR website, which, by the way, you guys have got to tell you was very, very, very instrumental in helping me create this whole thing. So thank you, SABR. You guys rock. And I'm glad to be a member. Yeah, that's, again, I've skimmed over these. There's one more I'm going to show you just because this game was so far ahead of its time, and I think you'll like it. I think it's gonna hit some nostalgia for you. Okay. I just want to thank SABR. I want to thank Scott for setting this up. Frank, thank you. I don't know if Frank's here. Frank there. Frank, yeah. So thank you guys so much. This has been a blast. It's the last one I'm going to show you. This is a game from APA. It's called Baseball for Windows. So right now I'm doing 1911. So, and were you guys able to hear the audio from the game? Because that's really important for this one. Were you guys able to hear the audio from Out of the Park Baseball? Like,
I didn't hear anything.
No.
you guys didn't hear anybody hear anything? Unfortunately. Okay, I'm gonna do something here. Hopefully you don't get too much of an echo, because since Zoom isn't very good at sharing audio, I'm going to switch to my external speakers. It'll be worth it, right? So we're going to go ahead and we're going to play a manual game. So we're in 1911, and I'm going to turn this sound up. So you're not hearing a crowd right now, right?
No.
Okay. So I need to turn up my computer speakers and switch off my headphones, because you might get an echo for a moment, but I promise we'll not keep it going long. It's just something amazing that I want you to hear. All right, let me switch over. And now you should hear a crowd. Are you hearing it?
No.
Oh, wow. How about now? That maybe
No.
not. Still not, huh? Let's see if it will pick up maybe once this kind of magic happens. So let's do the Highlanders at the Tigers. Okay, and we're gonna let the game actually, you know what, if you're not hearing any sound, I guess I can't really demonstrate this for you. So let me just go ahead and jump out of this. And so I don't want to make this a shameless plug, but I'm going to. So the name of my YouTube channel is Beatles Eternally. So it's my favorite band. They're the reason I'm a musician. So Beatles space Eternally. You'll see a lot of broadcasts of these games. So the last one I'm going to show you, Baseball for Windows. You'll just have to kind of check out on my channel. Ernie Harwell announces the games, and what he did, and may his memory be eternal, is he actually said the name of every person, first name and last name, and in most cases, their nicknames, who played Major League Baseball. That's including guys like Moonlight Graham, anybody that was just up there for one at bat, or maybe faced one hitter and then was sent back to the bushes. But not only that, it uses AI, and I should tell you guys, if you do either check out the game, it's available for $29.99 from Appa, or if you just want to see what it's like on my channel, and you won't have to hear my voice, you'll hear Ernie Harwell call the game. It will sound like you're listening to an actual radio broadcast. So Ernie, the way they did it is, it was just so much broadcasting, not only snippets they took from broadcasts, but also not only the words he used. So it's much more than a narrator. It is a complete call of a ball game. The crowd is a reactive AI, so it reacts to what's going on in the field. And this was a game that made its debut actually 1994, 1995. Today, it is still so far ahead of its time. And I invite you to just, if you want to, just kick back. And again, you don't have to subscribe to my channel. I'm not about building my channel or anything like that. My channel on YouTube is about baseball community, and frequently we'll be playing games and we'll just get into a baseball discussion. I'll invite people on with me using the StreamYard platform, and we'll talk baseball. And sometimes I'll just have a Diamond Mine baseball game running in the background. And that's what it's about. So I do invite you, if you would like, to check out my channel. I'd love it. But I want to thank you. I hope this was helpful. This was all just flying by the seat of my pants tonight. I didn't have anything written out. So hopefully it was helpful for some or a few, informative, one way or the other. And so that's pretty much it, unless there's any other questions.
Well, Scott, Joe, I really appreciate it. I mean,
Sure.
I learned a lot. I mean, I just thought it was going to be like a fantasy baseball type thing, but with the amount of information that's available, it's really impressive.
It's there's thank you for that. I mean, there's a lot. And again, there's so many games I didn't show you. There are some out there that are free. Um I so when we were talking before we went live, I think I'm the only person in America that is a baseball only fan. Truly, this is the only sport that I follow, the only sport that I love. I have so much to learn about it. And it was weird. Even when I was a 9-year-old kid, I loved dead ball baseball. But so for me, also, this is a way for me to uh it's a kind of a little rebellion, right? Because now we have bases the size of pizza boxes, and we don't have a shift anymore. And I could go on. I'm not going to go on a tirade about Mr. Manfred, but this is also a way finally to go full circle about that magic, that enchantment, that enthralling quality of baseball. Is, guess what? If you want to play baseball the way you want to play it, you can do it. You can shift all day. And you know what? Ted Williams, right? You guys know this. He was interviewed after the 1946 World Series because the St. Louis Cardinals had played that hard shift against them. And he said, that's baseball. He said, I know I could have just, blooped one into left. He said, but you know what? It was a competition. And he said they won. So you can do that. You want to throw over to first base 15 times, go for it. No pitch clocks, whatever. These games give you that, a way to experience baseball, that we may not have experienced. Certainly none of us here have experienced dead ball 20s, 30s, 40s, even 50s baseball. I don't think any of us here are old enough for 1950s baseball, maybe. But again, great ways to do research. What do these stats mean? A way to bring them alive. And again, I think a way to introduce people to, and I know that pretty much everybody else here, you're all fans of other sports. But I think that one thing I will say is they've tried to footballize baseball. And I think for baseball moving forward, if I may make an editorial comment, disclaimer, this is not the official position of SABR. There we go. Is that baseball strength and move forward is not all of these crazy things that they've introduced in the game, because they wanted to increase stolen bases. Look what they did in the dead ball era. Everybody was stealing bases. You had guys, you had hit and run plays with your cleanup hitter back in the dead ball era. Baseball's strength is its past. And I think that these baseball programs allow you to experience that in a way that you can play the game that you loved as a child, no matter what era that was. And with that, I'm done.
I had,
Thank you, Joe.
I had,
Go
I
ahead.
had a question before you go.
That was
Yeah,
great.
yeah, sure.
You'd
ahead,
mentioned artificial intelligence and
hmm
playing these simulation games as a kid in the 70s and then occasionally in and out as an adult. The
Mhm.
thing I found personally frustrating, I guess is the best word for it, the thing that really kept me from diving, all in, was the thing that's missing and was impossible to reproduce is for a batter or pitcher or fielder to know, for the simulated player to know what just happened before, what might happen, one or two batters later, a lot of things that would affect the approach of the pitcher or the hitter in an individual at bat. And I know it's
Sure.
a card game that just can't happen, right?
No,
But-
no, not in a card game. I
And-
should mention, Mark, if you hold your hot just thought 1 second, I didn't mention for these baseball games. The other thing that makes digital baseball game, and this is going to maybe honk off a few cards and dice players, is this. With digital baseball games, you can actually play these out pitch by pitch. And
Right.
that already halfway addresses, but please, I'm sorry, Mark, continue. I was just remiss in not saying that. Guess
So
what? You
what
can
I,
play
what
pitch by
I
pitch.
found as a
Yep.
fan and as a player, and I still play baseball at
Mhm.
a way too late an age. So much of the game takes place between the ears of every single person out there, especially the pitcher and the batter and the catcher. And so you would get into these situations where if you knew the players and how they approach things, you realize they wouldn't have done the things that they did, that they would have adjusted, they would have done something different.
Sure.
Players get hot, they get cold, all those things. I know all those things are expressed statistically and then are stuffed into the probability and everything. So,
Yes.
so that was, that's being picky, but that was the thing that really kept me from doing this all the time. So I'm just one man. But I'm wondering if the next step is to feed all this stuff into AI and somehow it will imagine how the players would think in different situations and facing different players and having history with certain people. I mean, I know you can say somebody batted 200 against this pitcher who's left-handed, but they batted 600 against this other pitcher who was also left-handed.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. So I don't know how that's expressed, but I think with artificial intelligence, the next generation of this might be really, really addictive.
And I think it's going to happen sooner than later. And I
Yeah.
think the company that's going to do it is Out of the Park Baseball. There's already been a lot of, talk. It's like, look, okay, how is it that APA had this game in 1995 that had an AI baseball announcer? And again, guys, check it out. It's pretty pretty convincing that, the job Ernie Harwell did. And I mean, he gets actually, it's just beautiful. Just check it out if you're a baseball fan. But they're saying that what they want to do, because it would be prohibitive to hire somebody now, say, John Miller, for instance, just to pull a name out of a hat, to do what Ernie Harwell did, or in another game that I have, with Mel Allen announcing, which I do have, and a couple other announcers, what have you, is they're looking to leverage AI technology into recreating that once it gets to be, cost effective. So you already know that there are AI programs that you can clone anybody's voice, but
Yeah,
to be able
right.
to do that and have an artificial intelligence that's reacting and anticipating. In the Ernie Harwell game, you'll hear occasionally ejections, rainouts, all kinds of fun little touches. But out of the park baseball, and its developers, and they've grown from that, that sole developer in Germany to a decent sized company. They're owned by a large Korean sports gaming company now, but they're free to do what they want. And this publisher has deep pockets. That is something that I know that this will be the company to implement it. They'll do it before MLB The Show, which is, by the way, for anybody that's ever seen that game, you can play that as a management sim. You don't have to play it as a Twitch sim. So just a little toss out there. But you're right. I mean, I think as neural net technology, AI, things like that become available to the masses, and to game developers, because right now, could they start implementing that? It would, but let's face it, they've got to make money,
Sure.
as well. But I think that's a very, very good point. And, maybe within 5 years, as quickly as things move, we could be talking about out of the park baseball 31, and it's doing exactly, Mark, what you brought up. And I would love to see that. I hope it happens. I think it's the logical next step.
Yeah, I mean, the example of that would be in this World Series, we saw Mike Rizzo with no strikes or one strike. He's swinging for home runs. With 2 strikes, he chokes halfway up the bat and is looking for a
Right.
completely different type of thing. So,
Right.
that's the kind of thing I would really look forward to.
Well, I think you're seeing the beginnings of that in this game with the that player development thing that I showed. And again, I probably shouldn't have used Wagner, bad example, because how are you going to improve Hans Wagner? But so they're already starting with that, and I think that's a first step. I sense that this is out of the park baseball saying, okay, we do have some AI that we can do now. What can we do? Because now I'm taking a player right, one of the first players in the Baseball Hall of Fame, and I want to improve it. And who's a powerful hitter anyhow, but I want to improve his power. Now, if we would run through that, we would see those power numbers go up. We would see his defense go down. And it is using an artificial intelligence to do that. But what you're saying now, I think, is again another level, and I think it's coming. I don't think I would say 5 years. I would say 5 years, and then I can go back and say, you know what? One night in the Mathewson-Plank chapter of SABR, it was Mark Stewart that said, "We're going to have this." So we will, and you know what? It's going to be all the better for it. I really do. But that being said, for me, and again, as you say, you're one man. For me, these games, this is for me an eternity. Now that the World Series is over, this is an eternity until those beautiful words, pitchers and catchers report. So among all the other things I do, sleight of hand magic, and I'm a musician, my love of baseball is so deep that baseball never ends for me. It's sort of like that. What's the W.P. Kinsella book? It's called the Iowa Baseball Confederacy. It's this eternal game of baseball. And if anybody's ever read it, it's an amazing book by the author of Shoeless Joe Jackson Comes to Iowa. So for me, this is a lot of fun. And any of these games, from the first one that I showed you, really a heck of a deal for $14.99, all the way up to a product like this, which is $50. That goes on sale frequently. In fact, let's just see. It's probably not on sale right now. Nope, it's $49.99 right now. So, but I've been playing this since 1999. Every iteration. This game is officially licensed by Major League Baseball and the Major League Baseball Players Association. There's only 2 games out there that have this. The other one is MLB The Show. So this is sanctioned by Major League Baseball, and so why you get all the the proper logos and everything right out of the box. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. And for those of you that do like other sports, there are hockey sims out there. There are things for American football. There's of course things out there for what I'd call football, soccer, is also available. I think baseball is probably the best sport to simulate, though, just because of the nature. It's probably the most, intensely statistical game out there. Maybe some might want to argue, but I think it's easier to rate a shortstop than it would be to rate a nose tackle. I mean, how do you do that? But again, that's a whole nother subject, and I'd be speaking out of school because I'm not a football fan, so maybe there is a way to do that. So that's it.
Does anybody else have any questions for Joe? I had a couple, but Rich, how you doing?
Good. How you doing?
Hi, Richard. Nice to meet you.
Great talk today.
Thank
what
you.
Was what was your YouTube site?
It's and it's honked off a lot of Beatles fans, but I love the Beatles, so it's Beatles eternally. So Beatles and then space eternally, and again, you guys don't have to, like, subscribe or anything. I'm not about building it. It's just about baseball community. So please, you'll see, I go through you'll see a lot of different baseball games on there. So Dombrov baseball, which if you've ever played Sports Illustrated baseball, there's a digital adaptation of that. There's a great one that I think SABR members would love, but I didn't have time to show. It's called Digital Diamond Baseball, which is probably maybe the game I should have shown, but they're all so good. So yes, Beatles Eternally is the name of the channel.
Thanks. Oh, also, I agree with you. I hardly watch anything besides baseball.
Bless you. All right. Yay.
I can't tell you the last time I watched a football game all the way through. So.
All right, Richard.
But
Doubly great to meet you.
But you won't catch me on Instagram watching the Wiffle Ball League from California when they're live streaming.
I love that. I love that league. Oh, that's so much fun. That?
Yes. Those announcers are as good as any major league announcers.
I completely agree, Richard. I completely agree. So, yep, good stuff.
Joe, I had a question for you.
Yeah.
You were importing data for complete teams at a time to play another complete team.
Yep.
Do you have the option to create like a fantasy team, pick like draft players, and then have them play in different ballparks as opposed to their home parks?
Yes. Yes, you do. So you can do that in out of the park baseball. You can do it in Baseball for Windows. You can do it in the first one I showed you, Pocket Pennant Run, with some finagling. But yeah, you could do this. So again, if we don't have time, but I could show you, just for instance, like in that Action PC Baseball, what I did, and I illustrated this on my channel when I said, all right, guys, because my thing is trying to get people, and this is a little bit out of the scope of our discussion because we're talking about studying baseball history. And I'm talking too about, well, let's write our own little personal narrative, our own baseball history. And so what I did is I set up different managers, and I just selected a range of years, 1960 to 1969, just to make it really simple. And I let the computer draft everybody, assign them to parks, do the whole thing. Your imagination is your only limit with these games. The reason why I'm kind of talking about this one the most is because it's the most cost effective. This one and Pocket Pennant Run. This one has way more eye candy, of course, but they also come with every season. So yeah, you could definitely do that. And we have done that with our McGreevy League and also with the Fields of Dreams League, which I was a part of, and YouTube. And we have a few people that are broadcasting those games, and kind of cool. The Field of Dreams League, believe it or not, you guys, if you've ever done like online leagues, or you've done like cards and dice games and sent your files to commissioners and stuff like that, it's hard to keep people interested. We've had 24 owners now, and they are now. I dropped out after season 4 just because of, again, other commitments. But they're on season 7 now, and this is the second year of it, and 24 people. To keep that many people interested in a digital baseball league is amazing. And so we have that. It's a very, very good community. If you guys do, come on, say hi. We have a Discord that you guys can join. as well. And you will meet some of the most rabid baseball fans ever, and a lot of them are SABR members. So these aren't just casual baseball fans. So I think you guys would feel completely at home.
Joe, I have another question
Yes.
for you. When you were talking about Diamond Mine, you briefly referenced predicting World Series. Do you foresee this as becoming a source of predicting outcomes for betting? And if you,
Um, I've actually heard of
if-
people already doing it. There was a
yeah,
a guy. I wish I could find the article for you. That was actually using. I think he was using Diamond Mind. It was either Diamond Mind or this one. He was actually using this and playing out games beforehand, and was actually betting, and was actually doing pretty well. So yes, there's people already doing it.
okay,
I found the article and it was like, wow, I never thought about that. So
yeah,
I'm gonna just let that ring. Sorry
okay,
about that, guys.
no problem. Any other questions for Joe? Well, Joe, I want to thank you very much. I mean, I learned a lot. I just
Thank
thought this
you.
was like a game that, like playing a game, but I mean, the information that is available through all the stats and things like that. I mean, it's truly amazing to be right at your fingertips, like you said, as opposed to digging out your Macmillan copy of Baseball Encyclopedia and looking things up or using Baseball Reference. So
Right.
I'm quite impressed with this, and for the
Thank you.
cost, it's very, very reasonable.
Oh yeah, I
So
mean, this was the most
again,
expensive one. At $50, it's a steal. So,
again,
yeah.
well, thank you. I really do appreciate it.
All
Yeah,
right.
thank
Well,
you, man.
thank you. And again, thanks just great to be a member of SABR. I feel like I've come home in many ways.
And before we break up here, just one announcement I wanted to have. We were going to do a book club on December 7th with Tim Newby. He was going to discuss his book, the original Louisville Slugger, the life and time of forgotten baseball legend Pete Browning.
Pete Browning, yeah.
But we
Wow.
felt like we were cutting it close on time for people to read the book, so we've kind of pushed it back to January. We don't have a firm date yet. When we're trying to make arrangements with Tim to get a mutually agreeable date for him to appear on the call. But Pete Browning, it seems like it's a very interesting book. I think Scott has already started it, and the name, the original Louisville Slugger. Needless to say, he has a tie-in with a famous baseball bat company down there in that area. And as they say, as far as the bat company is concerned, the rest is history. But we're looking forward to having that book club meeting in January, and we hope everybody can maybe get a copy of the book, or if not, just jump on the call, and I'm sure we'll have a lively discussion with the author. So, Scott, do you have anything else?
No, great. I really appreciate it, Joe. This is excellent. I learned a lot. Actually, I'm going to watch the video again because I didn't get a chance to write everything down that I wanted to. So,
Yeah.
Thanks, guys. It means a
Yes, and
lot.
this being recorded, so it'll be posted within a couple of days up on the YouTube channel. Mark, Richard, anything from last minute wrap up?
No, just thank you again. That was a very informative thing. It takes me back to my childhood. I used to play the All-Star disc game.
Oh, wow.
So
Cool.
yeah,
Nice.
not a
I've seen pictures. It looks cool. Yeah, it
oh,
looks
that game
cool.
was great. That's how I learned to love old baseball.
Nice. Nice. Well, thank you again, guys.
Okay. Mark,
I'm the
anything?
one thanking you. So yeah, love it.
No, it was great. You answered all my questions.
All right.
Okay, super. Well, it was good seeing everybody. And hey, listen, between now and then, if we meet up in January, hope you all have a good holiday season, and we'll see you in the new year.
All
All
right.
right. Yep.
All
take
right.
care, everybody.
All
Good
right.
night.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.